The teichacha that we find in this week's parsha, the terrible psukim that describe the terrible punishments that will befall the Jewish nation when we don't go b'chukasai lo telech, if we don't go in the path of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a repeat in some ways of the parshas b'chukasai, but as the Ramban points out, many differences between what we read in that parsha and what we read in this parsha. And the Ramban famously says that the first teichacha in parshas b'chukasai is referring to the time of the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. Teichacha in this week's parsha, there's many remazim to this. Talk about the nation that we don't know his language. We're talking about the Romans, that the Jews didn't know the Roman language. This parsha is talking about the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash. Right in the middle of the teichacha, we have this pasuk, this confounding pasuk. Tachas asher levad Hashem l'yachav v'simcha v'tuv levav. All the Mefarshim talk about this pasuk. The teichacha will befall on Klal Yisrael because we didn't keep the Torah with simcha, because we didn't perform the mitzvahs with happiness, with enthusiasm, with simcha. Therefore, we are subjected to all of the klolos and all of the punishments that are written in this week's parsha. Shem Yishmael says, first of all, why? Because of the lack of simcha in performing the mitzvahs, we are deserving of such punishment, of a destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, of destruction of the Jewish Commonwealth in Eretz Yisrael. It doesn't make sense. And also we know that the Gemara gives different reasons, because of sinas chinam, because of the breakdown in communication between Jew and Jew, between the breakdown of love between Jew and Jew. There was hatred between the Jews. That's why the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Not because we did a mitzvah, we didn't do it with simcha. Shem Shmuel says a beautiful explanation to explain why the Tachas Asher Levad Hashem Simcha plays such an important role in the Teichacha and what it has to do with sinas chinam. Says the Shem Shmuel that a person can do a mitzvah in two different ways. A person can do a mitzvah in a way that shows that he's doing it from the heart, from the soul. He's living his life on the level of his neshama. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave a person neshama and a guf. The neshama wants only ruchnias, the neshama only wants spirituality. And it's our guf that's always pulling us to our physical lives, to Olam Hazeh. And when a person does a mitzvah and he does it in a way that shows that he's happy to do the mitzvah, he's enthusiastic about doing the mitzvah, he's living his life with his neshama. When a person does it without simcha and without enthusiasm, he picks up the lulav, he puts on the tefillin, that means his hand is putting on the tefillin, his hands are holding the lulav and the esrog. He's eating Shabbos, he's eating kosher, he's eating truma, but he's doing it on a physical level. It's a it's a physical level, and it's not a deep level. It's a superficial way of living. It's a superficial way of serving Hashem, and it's a superficial way of living our lives in general. Yes, we're doing the mitzvahs, but we're just playing the roles. We're just playing the game. We're checking off the boxes, but we're not really living in our innermost, on our deepest level. Klal Yisrael is bound one to another. The neshamas of Klal Yisrael is like one big, huge neshama. Really, on an essential level, in essence, we are all one person. Like Rashi brings the famous Rashi, "Ve'ichan Shlom Yisrael neged ha'ar, kish echad b'leiv echad." Wasn't only by Matan Torah, says the Shem Shmuel. We are always internally, essentially connected one to the other. If we live our lives on an internal level, on the level of our neshamas, we will remain connected with everybody. There won't be sinas chinam. There won't be a breakdown between Jew and Jew, between brother and sister, between family and family, because we're all connected in it. But when we start doing the mitzvahs without enthusiasm, so we start everything starts breaking down. We start living a superficial life. We're living a superficial life. I'm Reuven, you're Shimon. We're two different people. Look, you have your body, I have my body. She has her body, she has her. Everybody's different. There's different people. Our souls are connected. But that's only if we live our lives on the level of our souls, on the level of our neshamas. If we live a superficial life, if we don't do the mitzvahs b'simcha v'tuv leva, we do our simchas without enthusiasm, then we're living our lives on a superficial level. Our superficial lives are very, very fractured. They're very diverse, and they're different one from the other, and it causes a breakdown, sinas chinam. This causes but it all starts, says the Shem Shmuel, from this. If we start serving Hashem with enthusiasm, we start serving Hashem with the inner happiness, the inner simcha that causes us to serve Hashem with all of our hearts and all of our neshamas, that won't lead to a breakdown also in the sinas chinam, and then that wouldn't have led to the sinas chinam that brought to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. It's all one and the same, says the Shem Shmuel. The year 5780, Tavshin Pei, was not an easy year to do mitzvahs. It was also not a year when we were congregating together. We found ourselves separated one from the other. We found ourselves in situations where it was very difficult to do basic mitzvahs. Tefillah, limud Torah, and mitzvahs. Our whole lives, Jewish lives, revolve on being together, on being out there, on being on the street, coming to the shuls, coming to the Beis Medrash. And all of a sudden we were faced with the reality that we weren't allowed to leave our houses, and we weren't allowed to congregate, and it was very difficult to do mitzvahs. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bench that the next year, 5781, will be a year that we will be able to once again connect one with the other and connect with ourselves on a deep level. So when we do our mitzvahs, we do it with simcha, we do it with enthusiasm, we do it with an inner joy that connects our neshamas one to the other and connect us all together in the most intense and in the most deepest way. Good Shabbos.